Hey guys, Philosopher here, and today I'm going to be talking about Agatha Harkness, the character who was first revealed yesterday on this marketing video from MSF in talking about Apocalypse, and then we're going to also talk about the Scarlet Witch rework. We did get the Agatha Harkness kit released today in the blog. One thing I'm just going to say straight up is this character looks like you absolutely have to have her for the team to work, and is going to be, my guess is, if there's one character that's going to be the most gated here, I would assume it's going to be, on this new team, it's going to be Agatha Harkness. So, for instance, we saw in that video, we saw, footage of, Icarus, Cersei, and Doom just getting rolled, right, by the Darkhold team. Well, you'll see right here why that is. Like on turn one, she's going to be stunning the Hero Mystic Blaster enemy with the highest damage, and then the Hero Mystic Controller enemy with the highest damage, right? In other words, Icarus and Cersei. There's an element here to which the power creep's been so high with the Eternals, they had to make something about this team bonkers and totally cheesy to beat it. And, this character really is it. I mean, if you look at we'll start with the passive here. On spawn gains 2 death proof. At the end of any turn, if this character has taunt, gains stealth. Okay, that just prevents its sort of taunt mechanic. So to try to keep her alive. And then gain 50% focus. 50% focus to the whole team. 25% train to the whole team. That's very good. Look at how nuts this is. When the character or Darkhold ally drops, when this character or any Darkhold ally drops below 30% max health for the first time, do all this stuff. Clear disrupted, flip 2 negative effects to positive effects, apply defense up and stealth, barrier that character. So it's going to mean this team is very, very hard to kill. We already have, remember, Wong is going to be on this team, and he's going to provide tons and tons of survivability. This seems to be almost like a Heroes for Hire team for Arena, just kind of crazy team. We'll get to why the devs have described this as the Apex Arena team. We'll get to why that is in a minute. And then when any enemy drops below 30% max health for the first time, it does a whole bunch of stuff. So she's got an out of turn attack. It's very powerful. This is basically like the Black Bolt burp. Now, if you've been playing the game for a long time, you know how powerful Black Bolt's passive was when he first came out. Nowadays, it's not nearly as powerful. It still has some use, of course, but not nearly as game-changing. But at the time, it was an absurd ability because he was just, killing everyone left and right without even taking a turn. And why is that an important ability? Why is this sort of damage so powerful in a game like this? This is a turn-based game. And so usually it's all about getting your turns, gaining speed, getting more turn meter to go and take more turns. But this essentially allows her to skip the line. In other words, even when it's not her turn, she can just go right to the front of the line and do stuff. So this is just like the burp. So whenever an enemy drops below 30% max health, boom. Now it's for the first time, it's not every time. So for Black Bolt, it's basically every time somebody dropping low in health, he burps and attacks them here. But this 100% piercing. Piercing is better than regular damage. It ignores armor. And on top of that, she's going to be flipping 3 positive effects to negative effects in that character, putting disrupted on that character, applying +1 deflect, then to the entire team, and so on, her entire team. So it's just, this is just nuts on this character. And by the way, the rest of the kit is just as nuts. In many ways, this character may be the best character on the team, better than Morgan Le Fay, or at least more important in certain ways. In other words, this team, in my opinion, will not be competitive if you do not have this character, which is why I fully expect Scopely to make this the hardest character to get. If they give her away, for free very easily, and everyone's running around with a five-star Agatha Harkness, that's great, and I hope that's the case. But my suspicion is not. I mean, I think this is the key character on the team. Look at this ultimate. This is the second ability on this team that has a 10-turn cooldown. I don't remember, and there may be a 10-turn cooldown somewhere in this game, but until this team, I don't remember seeing that. But her, and I think it's Wong, also has one, which, is why this is essentially an arena team. Because in Arena, of course, it's all about just burning down the other team quickly. You can use all your abilities, and it's just once you kill somebody and make it a 5 versus 4, you pretty much won the fight, right? That's what Arena's like. In other game modes, Raids, Dark Dimension, and so on, it's not that way. So this is purely, a burst kind of team, because once this cooldown's used, it's going to take forever to come back. But look at the ultimate. Attack all enemies for 100% piercing, then 2 more times for 100% piercing. It's always more powerful. This is like, remember when Thanos, in the Black Order, he does all those waves of damage in his ultimate. The waves are helpful. So, for example, if an enemy has an evade or has death proof or something, this sort of helps with that. Applying heal block for 2 turns, offense down for 2 turns, all enemies. That alone is super powerful. Back in the day, right, that alone would be, an awesome ultimate. And then, like I said, apply stun to Icarus, apply stun to Cersei. Obviously, in the future, there may be other hero mystic blasters and hero mystic controllers, but this is purely designed as a sort of cheesy counter to the Eternals to make sure that they beat the Eternals. Heal self and all allies for 35% of the character's max health. Bury yourself and all Darkhold allies for 30% of this character's max health. And remember, if you have the full team, you're going to be able to have much higher max barrier. I think you go from 30% to 60% max barrier. So right now you can only have 30%. So this would, ordinarily have an issue where you top off your barrier. Now that's not going to be an issue. This team is probably always going to have very high barrier up to 60%. Then gain 2 ability energy for each mystic enemy up to a maximum of 6. So, right now in the meta, this is a 10 out of 10 energy cost. Well, it's really a 4-turn. So, it's 10-turn cooldown. It's really a 4-turn cooldown if you've got, if you get your 6 ability energy back. So if there's at least 3 mystics on the enemy team, this is going to be happening more often. So that's why this makes us a great Arena team, because right now in the meta, they've loaded us up on mystic characters. And so the current Arena meta is very mystic heavy. It's got Dormammu, Doom is a mystic, Icarus, Cersei are both mystics. To the extent you might have one character who's not an Emma or an Azemo or something like that, but there's a lot of mystic characters out there. And so Surfer is obviously also mystic if you ever use him. So there's plenty, obviously all of the Infinity, with the Infinity Watch, you're going to have Adam Warlock, who's the kind of a good standalone character, is mystic. So lots of potential mystic enemies. That's the crunch right now. And more about that in a minute, about the mystic crunch. Here, special binding enchantment, 4 out of 4 energy cost. And then this works a little bit like, it reminds me of one of Swarm's abilities where he kind of does a bunch of debuffs, and if you land your debuffs, it's really powerful. So assuming she's got a lot of focus, which I assume she will, I'm going to show you at the top what they say about that. Then this attack is going to apply slow. Then it's going to attack again and apply stun. Then it's going to attack again and prolong the duration of all negative effects except for the stun. So basically, it'll be a turn 1 if you want to use it, or turn 2, depending on what, whether you use the ultimate first or not. You're going to be able to apply slow for 2 turns and stun to any enemy. Turn 1 stun. Very, very powerful ability. And by the way, do a ton of damage, right? This is 710, I think, % damage. I'm bad at math. That's why I make YouTube videos and practice law, but I think 710% damage is just very, very powerful ability. And her basic 275% piercing damage. And if the target's a mystic, 5% max health damage on top of that, plus apply 1 deflect to the entire team. And call a random adjacent a Darkhold ally to attack the primary target for 50% damage. And in Arena, here's our second character. So Icarus and Cersei have Arena callouts. Now we have the second team that's got specific Arena abilities. Call two random adjacent allies to attack the primary target instead. So you're just going to put the 2 highest damaging characters in the team next to her. This character, of course, is mystic, and they make her global, although I don't know if you're really going to want to, use her for Dark Dimension, given that there's just so many great Mystic characters. But that may make her an option there. But what I will just say is we have a huge Mystic gear crunch right now. A lot of players are building up their Dark Hunters team, and then they're going to try to build a Darkhold team right after that. And that is by design, I'm sure. And then something that's going to make it, and by the way, they say here she's going to have high focus and resistance. So the high focus means she's going to land all those debuffs and so forth. Very, very important ability. Now, one thing that you should know if we go after this is, and I'm going to talk about Scarlet Witch in a second, there's a new unique gear piece. So on top of the crunch you're going to feel with Mystic Gear, you're going to have to, for Morgan Le Fay, if you unlock her, and it seems like a lot of people will at a 3-star unlock, you're going to have to basically buy up from the supply store for gold and create more of a gold crunch for yourself, this new unique, which no one has, right? So it's going to be in raid supplies, war supplies, blah, 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 but it's going to be tempered osmium, which we don't have. So that's even worse, in my opinion, than, Oz formula or something else that we have a crunch on right now, because a lot of us at least have some of that stored up in here. You got nothing. So one thing I would suggest, by the way, is you may want to just save your orbs until the patch, so that this way when you open your war orbs and your raid orbs and so forth, you'll get, this in there with the other uniques. Let's talk about Scarlet Witch for a second. And here's the bottom line with Scarlet Witch. I mean, the stat upgrades are significant, but not insane, right? I mean, her speed's up very small amount, focus very small, damage small. Her health is 50%, and the armor stat increase is important, because if you look at armor, so this is the stat table on MSF.gg, and if you go, so this is the armor column here, and if you go to the bottom, you're going to see there's a few characters in the game that literally have 0 armor. Scarlet Witch, Swarm, and Kingpin. Scarlet Witch is one of them. So getting the armor bonus will help. That's a pretty substantial improvement to give her a moderate amount of armor. But still, this is not overwhelming. And then look at the kit upgrades here. Very, very underwhelming in my opinion. Nothing done to the passive, it looks like. On the ultimate, all it does is it's just applying defense down to all enemies, even if she's not in a supernatural team. Otherwise, this is very, very modest upgrade. 50% piercing damage. It's useful, prolonging negative effects, but it's just not that helpful. The special redistribute, currently redistributes total squad health and applies deflect and defense up. Now, it just heals self. In addition to that, And then her old basic applied 1 to 2 random negative effects. Now, if the character's not at full energy, it does 50% more damage and applies offense down, defense down, and slow for 2 turns. That's good. She's going to be spending time basicking, okay, because her character has pretty decent sized cooldowns. If you look at the character now, she's a character that is very, very niche on a team that is largely sitting on the bench for most folks. So if you look at her, now, Chaos Wave got a super long cooldown, 7-turn cooldown. Warp Reality's got a 5-turn cooldown. So she's going to spend a lot of time basicking. So they gave her a better basic, but it's still not anything to write home about, in my opinion. So what does this tell me? This tells me the character we already have is basically filler on the team, and they put all the power onto this character, Agatha Harkness, who presumably is going to be difficult to get. And frankly, if you asked me in a vacuum which character is more important to the team, her or Morgan Le Fay, it sure looks like Agatha Harkness is more important. I could be wrong. It could be actually that, if you look here, maybe Morgan Le Fay, has higher stats or something. And she certainly has some nice things that boost the whole team, 50% max health and 100% resistance. And the max barrier is very nice. But just in terms of the stuff she's doing, I don't see how this team operates without Agatha Harkness. So very important character, but obviously I think is going to create some concerns for players alongside her release. All right, guys. So if you like this video, smash that like button, subscribe to this channel. If you got comments, questions, cheers, jeers, happy, sad, angry, mad, post your comments below or go to my Discord That is linked below. You can also go to my Twitch stream. That is linked below too.